Once you start getting past probably 30, 40, into those 45s, you start to really struggle to find the words to and the understanding of who God is, because he's, here we go, struggling with the words. He's magnificent. He's so far beyond us, and we can't comprehend him. So when it comes to trying to explain some of those finer points of his character, it can be really difficult to find the human words to describe those. But it's so important that we understand the whole of who he is and how perfect he is. So the more we can look into, the more individual characteristics, the individual attributes of God that we can explore, the deeper our understanding of him is, the deeper our intimacy of him is, and so therefore our faith runs deeper.
Mm. And obviously the selection of these different reminders, I'm sure they are controlled or governed by what you yourself have walked through.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, God has given you, that's your story. As the previous guest says, your story, that can't be taken away. So
Right.
obviously what you've seen him do has been not only for his glory, but also to minister to you about who he is and what he
Absolutely.
can do.
Yes.
So what would you say would be maybe some of the more specific reminders that have been particularly meaningful to, not that they're not that all of them are not meaningful to you, but particularly applicable to your situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, one of the things that I hold on so tightly to, probably maybe one of the original reasons, well, I'll give you two right off the bat that are the original reasons I really wrote the book. One was his sovereignty, because when I experienced my first miscarriage, his sovereignty was not something I found comfort in, to be honest. I thought, if God is sovereign and he is good, which I grew up hearing, then why is he allowing such bad things, such tragic things to happen? And I think a lot of us struggle with that question of why. And it wasn't until I experienced his faithfulness through the years, and I can look back and see his fingerprints and what he's done in my life, that I have been his sovereignty to me is one of the most comforting attributes of his now, because I know that there's nothing that I'm going to face or deal with that hasn't first gone through his fingers, his hands. And since I know him to be a good God too, I know that those things are somehow, I may not know how, and that's the key. We may not understand how, but somehow those things will be redeemed for good. And so that one to me, and then the other one is, since my daughter will never be able to live alone, a real concern for my husband and I is, what about her future when we're no longer here? My gray hair is testament that I am not getting younger. I am getting older, right? And so she doesn't have a lot of major medical issues, so she will likely outlive us. So what does that look like for her future? And if I start dwelling on that, Bob, I become very panicked about her future. And at one point, I was so panicked, I started texting my friends and my oldest son and just, pray for me. I was literally losing it. I was so panicked about her future, and that is very out of characteristic for me. And so then I had to start reminding, of course, everybody texted me back, said, we're going to be here. My son called me right away. Of course, Mom, we love her. We're going to take care of her. I said, I know that, but I need something that is more, that is beyond human capability to bring me comfort. And that was the infinity of God, that he's already in her future. He already's there. He knows exactly what's going on. And so since he's sovereign, since he's infinite, and the other one is since he's immutable, unchanging, that I already know that he's never going to change his love. He's never going to change his grace, his mercy, all of those things. So he's going to be there, and he's going to take care of her even when I can't. And he loves her far more than I do. And that's where the whole book came out of, was just a prayer like, I forget, Lord, that you are sovereign, that you are, have everything in your control, that you are loving, and you love her so much more than I do. And that's exactly where this book was born. And so that's how I approach the attributes. Sometimes I forget, Lord, that you are merciful, that you are protective, that you are my shepherd, and that you're going to shepherd us through life and be there for us.